Welcome to another episode of the BS Podcast, the show that looks at how behavioural change insights are being applied in the wild. Episodes feature renowned behavioural experts across industries and organisations, from management and marketing to policy and public health, and more. Let's dive in and see what all the BS is about. Here's your host from The Behaviourist, Nick Hobson.
Hello, BS listeners, and welcome back to the show. Today's episode is part of the new spin-off series called BS Buzz, where the focus is on cutting-edge new products and services that are behavioral-based, behavioral-inspired, and designed, developed, created with behavioral science and psychology in mind. Today's BS Buzz is featuring Fastic. Fastic is the world's #1 app for healthy fasting. Fastic instills fascination, supporting users in achieving balance and creating healthy habits through scientific principles of intermittent fasting. Combating trends of overconsumption, the company's mission is to bring intermittent fasting to the masses in an easily digestible, digitized way, helping users reconnect to their body's natural needs. Fastic's selling point is its holistic approach to health, combining fasting with education, mindfulness, exercise, and nutrition. And today, I'm very happy to have on the show Phil Wayman. And Phil is one of the co-founders of Fastic. So, Phil, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nick. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And so, I'll explain a little bit of the backstory of why you're here and why I wanted you here. But first, if you can, just a little bit of a brief bio of yourself, so listeners know who you are.
Yeah, for sure. So, my name is Phil Wayman. I'm one of the co-founders from Fastic. And growing up, I was always really passionate about sports and a healthy lifestyle. Especially in my teenage years, I was really getting into organic foods. And I still remember my friends would always make fun of me because it just wasn't cool at that time. I mean, that was, I'm 28 now, was over 10 years ago. And I would say I was one of the first one in my surrounding, definitely, who was getting more into health when it wasn't a influencer thing like it is
Mm-hmm.
currently. So when did I really get into fasting? So to me, like during my late teens, I got into a car accident and I dislocated my shoulder. So I had 3 operations to fix that, and I was bedridden for almost 1.5 years. So that was during that process, I like naturally was looking and experimenting for maintaining my weight because I just could not exercise. And I was like trying out different diets and just really came to the conclusion that they're really harmful for me. Like I really noticed that like being restrictive on certain foods, I just could not see myself doing that for long term. And I eventually stumbled on fasting myself without even knowing what I was doing. So that was actually the funny thing about it. I started eating in at midday or in the afternoon versus first thing in the morning. I remember my grandma back then always said, if I don't have breakfast, the day will be over. I won't have enough energy. But I actually noticed it was the exact opposite, and I had a lot more energy and I felt mentally stronger, which really helped me at that time to go through the healing process with my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So the funny thing, in that time I also met my co-founder Sebastian, who comes from a fasting background. So his parents have been fasting experts for over 25 years. They run a fasting hotel, and
Wow.
besides being friends, we also share the same mission of wanting to help people get a healthier life and actually being happier with themselves, because we just both had this intrinsic motivation to see that there's something going wrong nowadays when it comes to the well-being of people. So we started our own health food company, where we sold products to the guests of the fasting hotel from the parents. And after
Mm.
seeing those benefits of fasting firsthand, like really, Nick, the guests, they were like not just feeling rejuvenated, but also they physically looked healthier. And we knew that this just makes sense, and we want to bring fasting to the world, especially healthy fasting, when it combined in a holistic approach. So we sold our food company, we started Fastic, and now this is 1.5 years old. Fastic is now an international remote company, and we've got big plans for the future to revolutionize health and go against diets and just offer like a different approach for health. And yeah, this is where we are today. And I hope that we will carry on with our vision of bringing healthy fasting to the world.
Very cool. Very cool. So in the entrepreneurial and entrepreneurship space, there's this saying that it says you eat your own dog food, which you've probably heard, and it sounds like you guys are definitely eating your own dog food, and you've been eating your dog food for years. So if people are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, if you build a company and you build a product or service, and as the creators of that business, you sort of are behind it. You really believe in it wholeheartedly. And there's a lot of companies and there's a lot of entrepreneurs who don't necessarily eat their own dog food. They sort of build the business because they want to make money, or they want to get rich and famous and reach IPO or whatever it may be. But in this case, you guys have a background. You guys have a whole story and a history of intermittent fasting. And I mean, a fasting hotel doesn't get much more than that, but overall, just this sort of like healthy living and healthy eating lifestyle. So that's really great to hear that you're in it for the right reasons. So very very cool. Thanks for the backstory. And for me, I came across Fastic about 3-4 months ago, and so I'd heard about fasting. Obviously, it was especially in the last few years. I've heard it through Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss and all these other people, and as a scientist, I'm really intrigued by these things that come up, especially in sort of health and nutrition science. It's a very close field to psychology in that there's a dedicated science to it, but it's also sort of readily available and accessible to the lay public. Like the average person is really interested and wants to change their lifestyle or change their behavior to feel better and to eat better, to be healthier, whether it's sort of psychologically or whether it's physically through health or dieting. So they're similar. And so when I did a deep dive into the fasting literature, I was really sort of intrigued. And then I never did anything about it. I never tried it out. I just sort of observed it on the outside. And then came COVID. And with COVID came a more sedentary lifestyle, and I gained some weight. And for me, I think that happened for a lot of people. But for me, I was totally caught off guard because I've been one of those fortunate people who's had a really fast metabolism, and I could eat anything and as much as I wanted, or drink as much beer as I wanted, and I would just never put on a pound of weight. And then I had my first kid, and then, as I said, COVID hit, and all of a sudden, I started to gain some weight. So I said, at one point, I got so frustrated, fed up. I said, you know what? I'm going to start working out again, and I'm going to try fasting. And I don't know exactly what the point was where I came across Fastic, but I did it, and I'm still doing it. And I think it's been about 2 months now, about a month and a half, and it's going really well. I'm naturally suspicious and critical as a scientist, but I must say I've felt all the things that you tend to feel with fasting, like more energy in the morning and these things. So Phil, I owe you and the Fastic team a debt of gratitude, because here I am doing my intermittent fasting, and it feels pretty good. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Nick. Yeah, we have an awesome team. It wouldn't be possible without them. So I will send it to them. The thanks from you. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
So
of course, of
awesome.
course. So when I explained a little bit of fastic, and I think for those people listening, and they kind of get it. Could you go a little bit into maybe a little bit more detail of what the user journey is and what it entails, and specifically as you do that, if you wouldn't mind, sort of honing in on some of the behavioral or the psychological principles that are integrated into the app and into the journey.
Yeah, sure. So Fastic as an app is there for guiding people towards a healthy lifestyle, and that's what I picked up on earlier. When we look at diets, they're just they can make you lose weight for like a short time, but if we look at the long term results of dieting, it usually has a yo-yo effect, and people especially have mental problems from that. So this is where we just go against. We try and have a different approach here, going back to the roots, like where do we come from as a human being, how is our body still programmed, if we look at it, nothing has really changed there. Obviously, society has moved on. We are like we've got supermarkets, filling stations, and little shops at every corner, so we can constantly snack. But this is nothing where our body says, okay, it's made to snack the whole time. And obviously, if you look at the numbers, we've got 2.2 billion people who are overweight. We've got a lot of deaths caused by the wrong nutrition. And this is something where we clearly want to bring a solution to the world. We offer a holistic approach to health combined with fasting so that people can reach their individual health goals sustainably and flexibly. Because that's the thing, different to diets. I think it's really important to personalize, for example, that's what we are trying to do with fastic, the content to the needs and the goals of our users. Because just a general diet for the mass, it doesn't mean that that fits to your body. It just, for example, Nick, if I would say, why don't you start with 18 hours of fasting because that works for me, does that really work for you? I don't know. Just like, as let's say a mother would want a different plan than someone who's working night shifts. So everyone's individual, obviously, and their body um, is too. So we just try and take this step and making our content very personalized for the needs and the goals of our user, and obviously bring in the mental side as well, because it's not just about your body, it's also about your mind. So it's a mix of body, mind, and soul to balance that and to just help our users. And yeah,
Hmm.
just a company their way and lead them to a healthier life.
Hmm. Hmm. So let's bring it to life a little bit, because it'd be great if we had the app in front of everyone, but everyone who's listening, definitely go try it out and download if you haven't already. Um, but can you walk us through what they see on screen, kind of, and like what they're doing when they're, is it because do they check in? Do they get any sort of rewards? What feedback are they getting? If you could explain a little bit of that.
Yeah, for sure. So when our users open the app, they see the first page is the Today tab. Personally, we see fasting as like a friend who you've got in your pocket. So this is starts with your daily routine. So it's your daily plan tab where you can see what task you've got today. Let's say go into fasting to set your timer and also learn. We really think that education is the key here. So there's a lot of information out there in the World Wide Web, obviously, but a lot of fake news and information, too much information, if you ask me, Nick. Like, where I just really think
Hmm.
it's really crucial to have good content what you can trust. So that's where our experts come in. So we provide content for our users to step by step give them the education they will need, and they can all get this in the daily plan tab. Like I said, they've also got different kind of tools what is tailored to them. For example, they can find recipes. They um, they can track their water. This is a um, very loved feature actually by our users, because they can set up notifications so that we remind the user to drink water. I mean, I can just personally say that I was really bad at drinking water. Like, I always forgot it, and it was really helpful to have an app that sent me push notifications for building a healthy habit to actually remember that. And now actually I couldn't go without a glass of water every 2 hours. Like, that's just it went over in my blood. So that's
Hmm.
where I can really say it helped me. So yeah, these are tools the users can use in Fastic. We've obviously got like challenges to go into that. This is for building healthy habits. I think this will be interesting for you, obviously, from the science part as well. Like, we are trying to help our people to choose their challenge, what they would like to accomplish and work on in their life. Like, for example, improving their gut and health digestion, but also improving sleep, or maybe being more active. They can individually choose their challenge, and then we will guide them through that. And obviously, this will all come over into the daily plan tab accordingly and
Hmm.
be personalized. Like I said before, this is what we see is success for the long term in personalizing things. Yeah, otherwise, we've got the fasting timer. This is very interesting part as well. You can see your body status, so you can actually see what is happening during the fasting hours. Um, what is what is always nice to have a look at when it comes to autophagy or ketosis, and to see what state your body is currently in during fasting and what benefits he has from it. And yeah, for our German community, we've got the community, what is where people can support each other and swap experiences and just get advice in general from our fasting coaches. This will be um, launched in America in a few weeks as well, and in Canada. So
Hmm.
we are really looking forward to that because we're getting great response on that. The people are really loving the community, and I think this is another part of actually staying and committing to a goal, is having a group where you say, hey, we we do this together. I think there's just a natural way of life for us humans to actually go with a bunch of people who have the same goals and support each other. So yeah, this is how I would describe fasting. Obviously, you have your profile as well, where you can track your weight and water consumption and recent fasts.
Very cool. Yeah, I love it. And so we know we know. I mean, eating is such a habit based behavior, and we talk about habits a lot on this show. And one thing we talk about all too often is one of the things in behavioral science, behavioral insight space, is the action intention gap. So a person can have the biggest intention that they set. I want to eat healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to save money. You name it. Any sort of goal that we set for ourselves, we lay out, and we have the best intentions of setting that goal and then ideally following through on that goal. But humans are very irrational creatures, and our intentions and our actual actions in carrying out, down the road very rarely happen together. So we set a goal and often we fail in hitting that goal for a number of reasons, as we can imagine. We're tired, we don't feel well, we have three kids running around, we're busy at work. I mean, the reasons are all there. And so what's key, we know from the research, is when we set, there's a number of things that sort of work to bridge the divide between the intention and the action. And one of those things is habituating the behavior and making it so it's quote unquote easier, or requires less cognitive resources for us to then implement and act out. Because a habit, as we know, is automatic and it just sort of happens based on a series of cues that are in the environment. So I'll tell you, back to my own story for fasting. I was really nervous. I was like, am I going to feel like shit for the first week because I've been eating so poorly, blah blah blah, and so it was I decided at 18:6. Is that what it is? 18:6 window. What do you call that exactly?
Yeah, exactly. You can have a 18:6 window as well. So
Okay.
that's the one you are currently on, or
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So I went really like I didn't ease myself into it. I could have gone like 12, 12. And so to explain to listeners, it's these different windows which the app offers you as different, and there's sort of beginner level, intermediate, and expert. So the beginner would be something like a 12-12, where 12 hours is your eating window, and then the other 12 hours of the 24-hour day period is your fasting window. Or you could do 14-10, where you have 14 hours is your fasting window and 10 hours is your eating window, and so on. So I decided on the 18:6, where 6 p.m. or 6 or 7 p.m. and finished dinner with the family, and then no eating until 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock the next day at lunchtime, right? Yeah. So here I am, my first day. I feel very committed. I set the intention. Yeah, I have the app, and I'm really like enjoying it. And I put my little one to bed, and that's the time before, like, where like the snacks would come out, and so I found myself completely on an unconscious, total habit level, opening the cupboard pantry door, pulling out a big thing of these pretzels that are filled with peanut butter. They're just like the most ridiculously tasty things, and not so great for you. And I unscrewed the lid, reached in, grabbed a little morsel, put it in my mouth, took one bite, and I went, "Oh shit! I'm an hour. I'm literally 1 hour into this friggin' thing, and I already screwed up." And it was hilarious because it was, as a psychologist and as a behavioral scientist, it was just such a moment of learning of how, how ingrained these behaviors are, and
Yeah,
how habituated, and how it has to, how hard it is to break those bad habits and those bad behaviors. So I'll tell you, that was my one little slip up, but since then I've been pretty good. So the one thing that with that hilarious story, what I really like, what worked for me, I'd say, are two things. The you sort of set this timer. So at the 6 o'clock, I'd set the timer, and just to sort of paint a picture for listeners, you have this little like person, and it's like a donut shape or a wheel graph that moves in real time as you move through the fasting window. So it's like, here's 1 hour, here's 2 hours, so on and so forth. And along that wheel, there are these different, I guess you could call them checkpoints, which you mentioned. So there's this is what your body's doing now, and this is what your body's doing 6 hours later, and then eventually you reach ketosis, and autophagy, and it gives you a little explanation of what your body is doing. So for me, that really worked because you know what's happening inside our bodies is largely invisible, and we don't see it. It's behind the scenes. But for the app to actually tell you this is what's happening in your body right now with regards to your metabolism and so on and so forth, I found really helpful. I'm not sure if that's other feedback you've gotten from users.
yeah, definitely, definitely. The body status is being well received by our community.
Very cool. And I want to circle back. So you're saying you're beta testing in the Germany market this sort of community. So we know when it comes to starting new behaviors and changing behaviors, a big thing that works, that is a really successful factor or driver, is socializing and feeling that you're not going it alone, and that you have a sense of community and others to rely on, and also to hold you to account, to hold yourself
Yeah.
accountable for these desired behavior changes. So can you explain a little bit more of what that community is, how it operates? And you said it's coming to the North American market shortly.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, the social aspect is a big one if you ask me, and I mean, we are humans. We are all individually, obviously, but we are all also love to be in communities, and that's where we're strong. And this is just especially with I actually, if you ask me, I see the health topic always as a whole. So it's not just about losing weight, what it is for a lot of people, but it's for your mental health as well. And just touching on the things you said before, I think if getting healthy or losing weight was so simple as eating less and just exercising more, the diet industry wouldn't be $1 billion industry. And obviously you've got the food industry, the pharma industry. They're big industries behind that. And um, yeah, they're just I think it's so important to get your mental state right when it comes to the relationship between food and ourselves. And I'm talking like emotional eating and habits, like you said yourself. After the first day, an hour later, you were looking into that cupboard. I can really relate with that. I know that feeling. And there are just so many habits. What I mean with like going actually having the feeling of, am I really hungry now, or have I just got an appetite or a craving because
Hmm.
I'm stressed. And yeah, so that's why it's so important to really be aware and be mindful when it comes to your mental cravings. And here I think especially the community can really help, because when you are feeling low or you don't really feel motivated, that's when our community helps. That's when we are now testing with our fasting coaches to motivate the people, and the people can motivate each other as well. And just like you said, you hold yourself accountable for certain things because you don't want to let down the group, and it just benefits you by accomplishing your goal, but you can also share things and help others. And I think that's just the nice thing about it. It's a win-win situation. You do something good for yourself, but you can also be part of something. And this is what we are trying to achieve with our community, and what we are getting great response to. That's why we're going to roll it out worldwide as well.
Very cool. That's great. And you mentioned this idea of the awareness in your body, and I will say again, that resonates with me because what I found, like the first week, the first few days was a bit like to be totally honest, was a little bit uncomfortable, and I expected that and I anticipated that. Um, but what it taught me after, like, say, the fifth day is to sort of bring my awareness to to my internal state within my body. So, for instance,
Mm.
you know that people obviously can relate to that feeling of hunger, and there's times like, and it's in your gut, and your gut probably makes, like, those rumbling noises.
Yes, yes.
Um, I would have that before fasting, and it would almost be like like almost a panic where, like, oh my god, I have to eat. Like, I'd get up and I'd be like, I
Yes.
have this sensation, and I would run, to the kitchen or to the fridge and just consume something to alleviate that feeling. Um, and then I learned over time that that feeling's okay. That you can have it, you can be aware, and you can sort of mindfully address it, and then it passes. And it always, what I learned is it always would pass, and it would always be okay. And there was no need to panic. There was no need to rush to the fridge to fill my stomach and fill my mouth with food or drink or whatever. And that was really cool for me. That, because they always talk about with psychopathology and mental health and mental illness, that the sign of mental wellness is the mind and the body sort of in communication with one another and
Yeah.
connected. There's a connectedness between mind and body, and that's what I really liked. Was I was more aware of these bodily sensations and more accepting of them, and that sort of just tuned me into the experience of eating and my body more generally. I don't know if am I'm assuming I'm not alone in that must be something that people experience as well.
Yeah, I love the approach, and how you just said that, Nick. That's like exactly right what you're doing there, because I can even put this to myself. It's not just that we get that feedback from a lot of our users, that they can, after a while, they notice, hey, I can feel a difference, and I've got a better approach to food and to being hungry, or to differentiating between hunger and appetite. And especially the grumbling sound in your belly, like this was a big thing for me as well. Always when I used to have a grumbling sound as a teenager, I was always like, okay, damn, I need to eat something, but quick, because otherwise I will probably fall over dead. But
Yeah, yeah.
I I soon learned by from a doctor that it's actually good if you're like, it's something positive, because your belly is clearing up, and it's tidying up, so to speak, if we put it in a picture. And as soon as I understood that this is something positive happening, and I put my mindset to that, and I said, hey, this, I'm embracing it, and I'm actually feeling good because this is happening, because my body is starting to go over into the autophagy. That's a recycling program, what happens throughout our body, where cells can be completely renewed and be recycled. And this happens if you don't eat for a period of time. And I just noticed that I switched my whole thinking of how I grew up, like I said, where my grandma was like, hey, you need to eat something, otherwise you won't have energy for the day, into, wow, this is actually good, because it is scientifically proven. There was a Nobel Prize for that in 2016 as well, for the autophagy. And my cells, like my body, is working on healing himself. So as soon as I understood that, and I could put that into my mindset and understand it for myself, it was just so phenomenal to see my attitude towards all of these beliefs I used to have growing up, to yeah, noticing the benefits for myself. So no, awesome how you describe that. And I think it just always takes a while to go through things, especially if we have habits for years and years, like you said yourself, eating and snacking on, let's be honest, like pretzels. Everyone likes them, and I think it's fair enough to have them as well. But it's always just important to overthink what we are doing. And that's why I'm saying, with the big industries as well, that's where they obviously make their money, because
Mm,
our body is designed for craving on things like that, because it gives us energy. And that's what I mean with going back to our roots. Like society has moved on, but our roots, or our body, is still designed to have fasting phases, and to have
mm,
phases where we eat. And if we overeat, we obviously gain fat, and overweight can have severe consequences in the long run. And that's why that's the beauty about fasting. It's not restricting on certain types of food. Go and have your pretzels now and then. Go and have a pizza and enjoy it. That's the thing as well. Actually,
Mm,
when you sit down and eat them, that's what I mean with the mental state. It's so important to enjoy that, to yeah, just share that with people and be happy about that, but then also go back to your normal routine, to your lifestyle, and make sure that you've got a balanced diet, that you have got a lot of vegetable fruits, and just make yeah that I don't know if I bring my point across right, but I think it's
mhm.
just so important to say at this point that we should definitely have a mental approach, and look at the mental side and our habits, because otherwise
Mhm.
we will never be able to be on a good road for long term, because just restricting ourselves to food what is out there is not the right attitude, not the
Yeah.
solution. And that's why seeing it as a lifestyle, it's the same. For example, if you are fasting and you are invited to a birthday, then that's okay, go and have the birthday brunch, although
Yeah.
your fasting plan says start eating as of 12, because it's a lifestyle, and then you can go back to it the next day. But
Yeah.
it's just important to have the mental and the body connection going, and going with that. And because just restriction will never work on a long term basis, what diets do. That's just why we are so against that, because it's harmful at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. It's totally clear. And that is one of the biggest puzzles in the behavioral science space is how do you set up long-term sustainable behavior change so that it's not just a quick flash in the pan, that it's not just like a month, in this case, diet, restriction diet, and then the person falls off the boat when they experience stress or they have a new kid or they get a new job or they're laid off of their current job. It is something that is lifestyle that's enduring. And it just makes so much more intuitive sense, at least to me, as a behavioral scientist, that something like this is going to facilitate and encourage that more long-term sustainable change than your typical restriction or restrictive based diet. So totally get it. Well, Phil, thanks for coming on. This has been great. Where can for those who are interested, where can they find you guys?
Yeah, so if we are currently available in the App Store and the Google Play Store, you can also find out more about Fastic or intermittent fasting in general on our website at fastic.com, or on our social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and several others. So yeah, it would be awesome to see a few of your listeners try out Fastic, and join us on the fasting road.
Very cool. All right, you heard it, listeners, from Phil himself, the co-founder of Fastic. Well, thank you, Phil, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Nick. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, Nick here once more. A final farewell note before ending. All the show notes, links to papers, resources, and materials mentioned in this episode can be found on the BS podcast page of The Behaviorist, where you can find all episodes and lots of other interesting and easy to apply sciencey stuff. Just head on over to www.behaviorist.biz/BS podcast. The show is edited and co-produced by Laura Christine and Noel Rain, and visual artwork, banners, and animated GIFs created by the talented Iris Deng of dengit.org. That's DENGIT.org. Definitely go and check it out. Lastly, if you'd like to join me in the mission of spreading the good BS word, remember to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever else you get your podcast fix. Quite a bit of work goes into these episodes, and a little love would go a long way. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, remember, keep your facts ugly and your hypotheses beautiful.